Hello, everybody! I hope all of you are doing absolutely amazing. I am making this video to compile my thoughts and feelings toward Fallout 3, which I have been playing since I was a wee little siege. I loved this game to death. I played it multiple times trying to get the most optimized character I could. I loved to explore and take notes on the world. I didn't even know the wiki was a thing back then. I loved all of the settings Bethesda had made for us when I first saw them. It eventually became routine for me to play Fallout 3. I knew where everything was and how many enemies there would be. I knew where every settler was located. I knew every location on the map and the fastest way to get to them. I knew all of the metro stations and every single NPC. I was obsessed with Fallout 3. When Fallout New Vegas came out, I was not that excited about it. I had my Fallout game that I enjoyed, and that was enough for me, until one fateful day. We eventually tried Fallout New Vegas, and I fell in love once again. I began to retrospect on what I enjoyed about the two games and found that Fallout 3 was not as good as I thought. I will be avoiding DLC for this review, as I have enough issues with the DLC to make an entire separate video. By no means am I making this video to ruin your favorite game. I just want to get my thoughts out there. My only intention is that I want something better than what we got. This will probably be one of my longest reviews as I have a lot to go over. So let's get started. I still remember my first time playing through Fallout 3. I was about 12 years old and I had no idea what I was doing. I was playing a bad karma playthrough and I was constantly lacking supplies. I played on normal difficulty as that is what the default is set to when you first boot into the game. I feel this game does not want you to pay attention to the main story and only has the story there to meet a quota. At no point throughout the main quest are you giving any difficult decisions that are impactful to the rest of the world. You are always tasked with finding Dad or getting the purifier up and running. You should have the ability in the game to say screw the purifier and my dad who left me. I'm going to become a full-time slaver. I could go over how absurd it is that the Enclave has a base in the DC area, yet did not help in the events of Fallout 2 or have regular day-to-day contact with Navarro. I could tell a similar story about the Brotherhood and how the West Coast chapter would not only exile Alliance, but they would want Alliance's Brotherhood to be exterminated. But in the end, I've decided that I'm going to try and avoid bringing up other games in the franchise and how badly this game fits in with them. Instead, I want to focus more on my personal issues with this game that made me realize how lackluster it actually is. So let's start from the very beginning. For those who are unaware, the game wants you to believe that you were born in a vault, which is an underground facility that was made to protect people in case the bombs fell. Surprise, the bombs fell. You experience your own birth, age 1, age 10, age 16, and age 19, shaping the character that you want to play along the way. The game presents this in a very natural and organic way with so many different branching Just kidding. The game only really has two options for character building that affect the entire rest of the game, which are the special book and the GOAT test. With the special book, you pick your character's special stats. Some stats are better than others, with charisma being objectively the worst stat you can put points into. The GOAT test can be upwards of 5 minutes of listening to overextended questions and giving answers. You can skip the test by choosing the right dialogue options with the teacher, which allow you to choose your own skill tags. I do not like this, as if you are a new player, you have no idea what the outside world is like, and thus you have no idea what skills you would like to put points into. Other than special stats and your tag skills, your choices in the vault don't really matter. For example, if you kill the Overseer, his daughter will still call for help later on in the game. The dialogue for that quest changes to fit you murdering her father, but the outcome is all the same. This just simply isn't good writing for an RPG. You should be able to figuratively gun your way out of there killing all of your friends, or you should be able to work directly with the Overseer to help calm the residents and control the rad roaches, maybe eventually even opening up the vault doors and venturing out, or anything in between those two extremes. It's simply unacceptable that we got the choices that we did, which are barely any. It is absolutely no wonder that one of the most popular mods for Fallout 3 is a mod to skip the entire beginning vault section. It has little to no relevance on the rest of the game and can be skipped without losing the plot. The plot for this game. One day, you wake up and discover your father, the only family you have, has left the vault to pursue his lifelong project of making clean water for everyone outside of the vault in the capital Wasteland. You see, Vault 101 is located in the middle of the Washington, D.C. ruins. There is little to no clean drinking water, and it is almost impossible to grow anything in the ground. Some of you may be asking, why would my father leave the safety of the vault and his only family to live in such conditions? Why would he not pursue helping the vault open up to the outside world and have the vault help with all of its valuable resources, such as a water chip and a nuclear reactor? You figure out that he was actually from the outside world and was let into the vault because he was a scientist/doctor. He wanted to live in the vault till you were old enough, then just leave you there as he saved the rest of the world that you weren't a part of. I am no parent, but this seems to go against the whole protect our offspring goal that most parents have. Mind you, the vault you come from has only one other scientist/doctor who was killed during his escape. Does he expect the vault to just run smoothly without a doctor or scientist? Why wouldn't he at the very least train you or his successor as much as possible in medicine and science before getting up and abandoning you to a vault of people who now hate you because of your father? Remember, many of the residents in the vault died to the red roach infestation caused by your father leaving, so the chance they have of forgiving you in time are slim at best. You do have the option later on to ask him why he did what he did, but he just says that he's sorry and he felt it was the best move to make. You are unable to push him or challenge him on that decision. If I was raised in the capital Wasteland, I would do everything I can immediately to find an area that is easier to live, yet everyone in this game seems to be perfectly content with the fragility of their existence due to the environment they inhabit. Everyone except for your father, of course. After leaving the vault, the player has the entire world open to them, but they would be an absolute fool not to go straight toward the first town that is in sight. Megaton suffers from the rule of cool problem. Bethesda wanted a town with a nuclear bomb in the center, so they made that town without thinking of all of the logistics of people in the community building their homes and inhabiting it. I won't get into too much detail about all the problems I have with Megaton right now. I only mention it to focus on the main story. You ask around town and everyone directs you to a man named Moriarty. He is kind of known for being a scumbag and a hustler, but he knows a lot of gossip in town. He is also the only way to get this information. If he dies or the town gets blown up, the quest changes to find Dad, and that's it. No more leads, no more clues. I like this and I don't like this at the same time. If there was a way close by to get some information afterward that required a high skill check, I would really like this, but there isn't. Imagine they hit you with the Find Dad prompt, and there was a science skill check on the robot in front of Megaton to access all of his past logs and you found out that way. Or imagine you went to Good Springs to pass a perception check on Silver to have her inform you that she saw someone go southeast from the town. I would have absolutely loved this, because the objective could have stayed Find Dad, but you get a little hint as to which way he went. Instead, you are kind of just left out in the ocean without a life vest. The next closest place to find information about your father is the next place that you need to go to, which is in the middle of the mutant-infested city. To get that information, you can either pay Moriarty, speech check him, hack his terminal, or get into his cabinet to get the information. Hypothetically, if this man just didn't remember to make notes on your father that stopped into Megaton days ago, you would be absolutely SOL. He will inform you that your father went into the city to find Galaxy News Radio, which is a radio station that cannot be heard too well from Megaton. When you leave Megaton and head toward GNR, there is one route that is pretty easy to follow as long as you don't stray from the compass. You face a couple of feral ghouls and a couple of super mutants which are pretty easy to take out. This is one of the only ways to get to GNR. Every other way would be much more challenging to the player as the city is a very hostile environment, especially at lower levels. I am not a fan of this as it does not encourage exploration. You have to ignore your compass to explore, but the loot is all lower condition in these areas, and the enemies are much stronger, which in my opinion almost gives the feeling of being punished for smelling the roses, instead of being rewarded for curiosity. Once you get outside of the radio station, you get to meet the Brotherhood of Steel, which is a faction from the previous game. They like to hoard technology and believe that technology in the wrong hands could ruin the world again. They do not hire new recruits. As you are born into the Brotherhood, they will be in battle when you arrive, and they will notice you and ask, "Who are you?" Never mind. Just help us clear these mutants. They will not treat you like an outsider, which is very strange for a faction of xenophobic tech lords, let alone a highly skilled and experienced faction in the Wasteland. For all they know, you're looking for someone to kill and loot. You could be chemmed out of your mind and insane. But they just allow you to fight with them regardless of how much tech you have in your possession or how much bad karma your character has accumulated. Now, I know this chapter of the Brotherhood is meant to be less hostile and tech hungry, but they aren't even worried that you'll pick up their best friend's laser pistol and use it on them. They just leave it there, as well as their dead brother's power armor and dog tags. So you valiantly push through each building, clearing one super mutant at a time, or you walk gingerly with the Brotherhood as they clear everything for you, till you get to the front of GNR. The front door is locked because of an enemy presence outside, and there is a fat man in the fountain out front with very low conditions. This is absurd, as a fat man is a meme of a weapon that does massive amounts of explosive damage, even at low condition. It is also absurd that the Brotherhood would not have this thing in pristine condition, as the Brotherhood scribes pride themselves in keeping the gear highly functional and preserving the tech that is too valuable for the field. This is located just outside the GNR outpost, so there is absolutely no way that this soldier got to see that much combat with this fat man before returning to base for maintenance. Luckily, at this point, you aren't able to wear any power armor, otherwise your character would be a low durability tank at this point. The Brotherhood just leave their dead brothers behind and his fat man for you to scavenge, instead of harvesting that technology to make repairs. They don't even pick up their fallen brothers' dog tags. If you return to the area after 3 days, the dead Brotherhood soldiers will not be there, and there will be a bunch of super mutants that spawn in the buildings that you just cleared. I guess the Brotherhood went and got their corpses before the super mutants could move back in? Why would they not hold down the entire area and all of the buildings and 2 metro stations instead of just retrieving the bodies? I don't know. They will never branch out from GNR, in fact, even after the Brotherhood has won the base game. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Out of nowhere, but not really, since it says that there are enemies when you try to access the building, but there aren't any in sight. A super mutant behemoth attacks. Time for another tangent. The super mutant base is literally on the other side of the map, yet the city is the most overrun by them. You can occasionally overhear super mutants say, "We need to find more of the green stuff," which has been speculated to mean that they are looking for more FEV to turn more people into super mutants. Even if I grant that the super mutants from that vault are looking for FEV, how the hell do they know what it looks like? The vault was supposed to have made super soldiers after the bombs fell, when it went horribly wrong. The super mutants are the result of that experiment, which makes absolutely no sense. When they were making the prototype FEV in that vault, did they just decide to make enough to turn an entire army into super mutants? Why would they make enough for a super mutant uprising to occur? They would have made just enough to test it on a handful of human beings, and that serum and its schematics would have been heavily guarded and hard to replicate. There is absolutely no way that even with the smartest super mutants' help, they would have been able to read the schematics and recreate it on their own. There is no way that they made a vat of the green stuff like they did in the first game for one prototype test. Bethesda just wanted to have super mutants, but couldn't have them migrate this far east because that would be impractical. So they made their own source of FEV without actually thinking about the ramifications or logic behind it. There are so many more lore problems and inconsistencies with FEV that I will not go over here for the sake of time. Just know that the super mutant abundance that inhabit the capital Wasteland and the city especially make absolutely no sense in logic or in practice. Once you get inside of GNR, you meet the radio announcer 3-Dog, with no guards or supervision. You can literally not kill a single super mutant on the way here besides the behemoth, and the Brotherhood will trust you enough to talk in private with the person they are ordered to protect. There is a back door to his office that leads to the blown out back of the building that you can easily climb down, but you can't climb up, which just makes an assassination attempt that much easier. But if we decide to not easily assassinate the famous radio host Three Dog, he informs us that if we want information, we would have to help him, unless we cheese pass a speech check. If we decide to help him, we have to get a radio dish from a lunar lander in the Museum of Technology. The museum is absolutely overran by super mutants. So instead of him informing Elder Lions that only half of the Wasteland can hear his radio broadcast, and getting a squad to go down there from the outpost that they have set up just down the block, they let Three Dog ask any one of his fans to do this favor for him, not at all concerned with the amount of lives that have been lost trying to retrieve this important piece of technology for him that the Brotherhood should be interested in retrieving themselves. In fact, the Brotherhood should be interested in getting that entire building under their control, as it is the Museum of Technology, folks. It should be a main base of operations, or at the very least an outpost. Either way, you get the dish, you install it for Galaxy News Brotherhood, and he tells you that your father went to Rivet City, which is one of the most populated cities in the capital Wasteland. So you walk there, and when you arrive, you find a scientist who worked with your father. She informs you that your father went across the entire Wasteland to a vault, so that he could find something called the Garden of Eden Creation Kit, or GEC for short. Your father, up to this point, has shown an absolute disregard for his own safety and well-being. Some may say that he's just very passionate about completing his goal, but I would say that he is eager for absolutely no reason. He says he knows he can get it working, but with no absolute certainty. Remember though, he has no idea if the vault he's traveling to has a GEC in the first place, or if they haven't already used that GEC. He could be stuck looking for another one. After traveling across the capital Wasteland, you find a vault hidden under an auto shop. So before the bombs fell, people just went to this garage to take shelter and no one noticed a group of suits going into the mechanic's garage and not coming out. The workers never noticed the construction of this entire vault underneath their feet day in and day out. Either way, this vault has a simulation going on where the Overseer has trapped people into living a pre-war American life over and over again. The entire simulation is cringe in my opinion. I typically just activate the override protocol and free everyone. You save your dad, he is amazed and relieved to see you. He was going to be trapped in that simulated pre-war paradise forever, which compared to what he did to the player character, leaving them in Vault 101 till the day they die with a bunch of people that will hate him for generations to come, I felt like this fate was actually a bit ironic for the player character's father. Either way, there wasn't a GEC here, but he wanted to start mass purifying water for the region somehow regardless. You follow him across the waste to the Jefferson Memorial, which is right next to Rivet City. The place has one bridge going across and would make a great fortification for Rivet City to occupy. Unfortunately, not a single town in this game is looking to expand its borders. If you clear the super mutants from the memorial, Rivet City will not move in. The super mutants won't re-inhabit the area. The area becomes stagnant till the player gets their father and continues the main quest. After setting some stuff up for Dad, you get attacked by a remnant branch of the United States government, the Enclave. The Enclave knew that the Jefferson Memorial was being turned into a full-scale purifier, yet they only acted once the player character was in a place where they could conveniently see the attack room, while not being able to do anything about the purifier being overwhelmed. I remember the first time watching my in-game dad die to save Project Purity, and all I could think was, why can't I leave this area yet? I've heard people get very emotional when their dad dies in the game, but I had absolutely no connection to the character whatsoever. Once your dad is dead, Madison Lee takes over and you now answer to her. You escape through an old sewer tunnel. You would think that the Enclave would put up like a force field barrier around the manhole cover inside the memorial or in the sewer itself, but they just send the occasional soldier to harass you, so it's fine. At one point, someone injures their leg and you have to choose to leave them or give them a stem pack to fix it. I tested this on my last playthrough. You can literally continue through the sewer till the end, leave, go to a trader, buy a stem pack, wait 3 days, go for a jog, complete a 2,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, beat Fallout New Vegas, come back, and the group will be fine. This game does this a lot where they make you feel urgency, but there is no consequence for stalling as long as you need to. Even in the middle of an escape mission, there is only false urgency. You eventually arrive at a Brotherhood outpost in the sewer, and when you go topside, the Brotherhood HQ, the Citadel, is right outside of the sewer entrance. Why would they put a man down there to defend this ghoul-infested sewer? Is this his punishment or something? Why wouldn't they just cover the sewer grate with a heavy rock, or blow it up, or use the mechanical door and just lock it or something? Either way, you get to the Brotherhood, and they refuse to help you till Madison runs past the guards and screams into the intercom, "Let them in, Lions," to which the door opens immediately. Is Elder Lions just waiting by this intercom all day just to tell the front door people to never let anyone in? If it wasn't Elder Lions, who knew Madison Lee in the Brotherhood and opened the door for her? Wouldn't that be going against direct orders to not let anyone in? Why would Elder Lions waste his time ever listening to anything that the people at the front gate had to say? They are under strict orders to not let anyone into the base, period. So why even have an intercom? Either way, we are let in, and Lion gives us the laydown of how this relationship was going to work. They would do their best to find the Gek and take over the Purifier, and the PP team, which you're now a member of, would be allowed to take refuge in the Citadel. Even if you've only done evil options up to this point and have little to no science or intelligence, they will say they are sorry for your loss and will help you in any way that they can. It is here that you are finally given power armor training if you ask for it. I like that it is past the first act, and they don't just give it to you the second that you walk into the fort. You actually have to seek it out, which is super nice. The Brotherhood tells you to check a terminal in their own HQ to look for where they could find a Gek. Instead of having their team look through the terminals for you, you are tasked with finding one. You find one, and of course, it's in the vault where the super mutants are coming from. The vault's entrance got nuked during the war, so you have to find another way inside of the super-duper government-funded, able to withstand a nuclear bomb, humanity's last hope for future bunker, which is a cave for pre-war tourists. I'd rather not even question what they were thinking pre-war when making this vault, or what Bethesda was thinking when they created this quest. After getting the Gek, you are captured by the Enclave, who are waiting for you to get the Gek. Instead of them getting the Gek themselves, they waited for you to get the Gek so that they could capture you and the Gek. How do they even get past the radiation that's at the front of the vault? They didn't go through Little Lamplight like we did, as it is untouched after this quest. The entrance of the vault is still full of super mutants after this quest, so how did they even get inside of the vault? They hold you prisoner and ask for the code to start the Purifier. You can give it to them, in which case they kill you, or you can refuse. You cannot strike up a deal with Autumn to work with the Enclave, getting the Purifier up and running, and having vertebrates to transport the water across the Wasteland, then potentially betraying them later. Instead, you just have to keep on refusing till the President tells Autumn that he needs him for something. The President then sets you free because he wants to talk to you face to face. Why wouldn't the President just tell you his plans through the intercom while you're in the jail cell and see if you'll comply then? Why would he set you free to kill a whole bunch of his own men? You eventually get to meet him, and OMG, it's an AI. The President wants you to contaminate the Purifier to get rid of all mutant life in the Wasteland. He says, sure, some innocent people will die, but it'll be worth it. He won't let you leave without grabbing the contaminant, so you have to take it and say that you'll do it for him. Remember, Colonel Autumn, the one that killed your father, if you talk to him later, he says that he wanted the Purifier so that the United States government could have an asset for the people. He wanted to start a government to help control the Wasteland and make it thrive. The President wanted to contaminate the Purifier so that everyone became sick and died but the Enclave. There is no option to side with Autumn to help him bring stability to the Wasteland. There is only the option to side with the President in poisoning the region. This is a huge missed opportunity, as it would have left the good ending of Fallout 3 to be argued and contested for years to come. Instead, we got two endings of an extreme and no options in between. You can then pass a speech check with the President or get a code from a footlocker on your way to talk to him to activate the self-destruct. Why is the self-destruct code inside of a footlocker? Either way, you would be a fool to not blow up the base, or you'd be trying to do an evil playthrough by siding with the President. You return to the Brotherhood and you talk to Alliance. From here, you can tell him about the FEV contaminant or not, but it doesn't really have any ramifications other than not being able to taint the Purifier later on if you do tell him and give him the contaminant. You are then asked to get ready for war. And fast, because they are going to be storming the memorial. But really, you can take as much time as you need to. It won't really make it any more difficult based on how much time you take. You push toward the memorial with Liberty Prime, and it's very exciting your first time playing through. On subsequential playthroughs, it is the most boring part of the game. You can slowly walk the path, letting the Brotherhood and Liberty Prime go ahead and destroy everything, or you can run with them. Either way, the Brotherhood and Liberty Prime cannot die. You cannot walk ahead of them to clear the way, as it is blocked by invisible walls and barriers, till Liberty Prime walks through certain triggers. Before the Broken Steel DLC, I would push with Liberty Prime till the end, and just not enter the memorial. Liberty Prime would stay out front and kill any Enclave that spawned after 3 days. I would loot their tech and give it to the Enclave, which is a splinter faction that act more like the original Brotherhood than the new Brotherhood. I would have the game in the state of, we are attacking the memorial and need your help. Time is of the essence for in-game months. You arrive inside and you meet with Colonel Autumn, and he explains his plan for the Purifier. You should have been able to join him before this point. Instead, you get the choice to pass a speech check to let him run, or you could kill him. If you sympathize with this man who wanted to effectively help the Purifier, and you pass the speech check to let him walk and spare his life, Sarah Lyons will let you know that she doesn't think it's a good idea and she wouldn't have done that. You are then told someone has to sacrifice themselves to turn on the Purifier and stuff. It's either you or Sarah Lyons who does it. If you have Fox as a companion, he will refuse even though he is immune to radiation. Fox will say it's the player character's destiny or some BS, even though everything we've done up to this point has been for my father's wishes and dreams. In Broken Steel, they fixed that, but we are avoiding DLC for this review and sticking to the base game. Either way, whether you make her activated or you do it yourself, the game ends in ending slideshow. Overall, the main story made me feel like I was assisting someone who was doing something very moral, but it was always viewed as their dream and ambition and not my own. It does not feel like you are helping because you actually want to help the Wasteland. It seems like you are helping because that is what you are told to do. You are Dad's son/daughter, and that is the disappointing truth. Compared to games that came out around the time that Fallout 3 did, the gunplay and mechanics were out of date even back then. Not having iron sights was an awful limitation that they dealt with, but could have been avoided if Bethesda cared enough to release this game on a different engine. The gunplay feels clunky and I absolutely love it, so much so that I don't even use VATS and I haven't for a very long time. That being said, I can totally understand how someone could have the opinion that the gameplay was awful based on how the guns feel alone. My bias for the gunplay is known and recognized, but is not a factor in this analysis. Overall, I do not play Fallout for the awful gunplay. I play it for the story and the world itself. There are very few branching options in conversations that don't result in anything more than a higher payout, most of them being speech checks, which are percentage-based instead of stat-based. So you can quick save before the speech check and keep trying till you get a lucky roll. The world itself is more of a shooting gallery than it is a post-apocalyptic wasteland trying to get by. There aren't many towns to impact in any meaningful ways or people to talk to. Most of them will continue to live their lives unimpeded by the main character's actions or lack thereof. If a town becomes hostile to you, you can always leave and come back after 3 in-game days, making such actions as killing people inconsequential when they live in a town. No town benefits from you completing or skipping another town's main quest. They all feel isolated and disconnected from each other. The game looks amazing. Each location is unique looking and each dungeon gives off its own vibe. I remember one day I was tripping acid and playing this game. I was in the rotunda stealing the Declaration of Independence. I felt so immersed, as though I was someone post-war in a government tourist attraction getting ready to commit a heist. Then we got attacked by super mutants and all of that immersion was gone in an instant due to the ridiculousness of the lore and the gunplay. It felt way too much like a turn-based video game with unlimited turns instead of a first-person shooter. I quick-saved, turned the game off, and found something else to do because I wasn't having any fun anymore. Finally, there are some random encounters that you will come across in the game when you hit certain spots on the map. These varied from a crazed Mr. Gutsy attacking you to a super mutant named Leo that did nothing but talk to you. The only encounter that I ever got excited to see was the Fire Lance. Every other encounter was a worthless waste of time for the player character and barely had any substance for world building. A lot of towns in Fallout 3 don't make a lick of sense, but Megaton has been criticized to death by many, so I will be listing off just some questions that I have for the town. Number 1, why would anyone build a town around a bomb? That's worse than me building my house in the middle of an Area 51 test range. Number 2, why isn't the entire town flooded? Are they really pumping water from the bottom of the town up to the top, and where are they pumping it to? Where do they get the energy to pump water up multiple stories? Number 3, why don't the people of Megaton attempt to search and ask people to defuse the live bomb in their town? You think that there would be adverts posted all across the Wasteland for a demolition expert needed in Megaton, but there isn't a single one. And number 4, why build a house out of a bus and place it 14 stories in the air? You have to lift that bus and place it there, as well as all of the platforms and ramps to get to your very own home. Why not just build it on solid ground? All of these questions can be answered with one simple statement. The rule of cool, baby. Megaton looks very cool, but I would never want to live anywhere near there. I would rather live in Paradise Falls than there. Speaking of, Paradise Falls is a stupid location that had so much potential. When the player first arrives, he is greeted by a front door man who does not do anything to hide the fact that he is a slaver. If you have bad karma, you can be let in on a karma check. Even if the reason you have bad karma is killing everyone you come in sight with, they will welcome you with open arms as though you're one of them. If you do not have bad karma, they will make you complete a quest for them. Now, I wish I was making this up when I say this, but for this quest, the front door man gives you a special one-of-a-kind prototype that is used to stun victims called the Mesmetron. So, just to be clear, he trusts a rando who wants access to their base of operations with a highly sophisticated piece of technology which is perfect for getting slaves to comply. If you get one of the 3 bounties he asks for, he will let you in. He will also never ask for the tech back regardless of how invaluable it is to a slaver. While walking in before you reach the town itself, you'll walk past a runaway slave trying to escape. His head will explode before he even reaches the front gate. This informs the player that the slaves here can't just leave, and that they have explosive collars around their necks. Where they got the Mesmetron and explosive collars, who knows? This little interaction with the slave makes me wonder though. The slave knew he had an explosive collar on, yet he ran for the front gate? Was this slave just tired of being a slave, so he chose to die? Why wouldn't the slavers just shoot him and save one of their collars? I'm sure they don't have an infinite amount of slave collars. Anywho, you enter this town and they are extremely blatant about slavery. Who are they selling these slaves to? The slaves are quite pricey, so it's not like the common raider could come pick up a slave, and I doubt anyone from Tenpenny is stopping by to grab a slave, not to mention there aren't any slaves in Tenpenny Tower. There are traveling traders that will stop by the town's entrance, but they are never seen with slaves. Mind you, these same traveling merchants also stop by a settlement owned by escaped slaves. There isn't a single slave in the Waste who was purchased from Paradise Falls that I know of, besides maybe Dukov's girls. There is evidence that they go to the pit to sell them, but we are avoiding DLC. So you come across some children slave that need to be freed. This is actually a quest you need to complete for the main game, unless you have Child at Heart as a perk, or you cheese past the speech check to get into Little Lamplight and progress. You can either kill every single slaver in this town, or help them escape through a sewer that is just large enough for children but too small for adults. The slavers barely have guards watching the slave pen since all of the slaves have explosive collars, but the kids can sneak to the sewer and leave once you deactivate their collars. You would think that the town would become hostile after you set these children slaves free, but you would be wrong. They could not put 2 and 2 together that you had just entered their town and now the slaves are missing. There isn't much else to note of this town, so let's get into ways that we can fix it. This town should be a trading hub that takes the place of Canterbury Commons. It should be a happy, well-fortified town on the surface. The people in charge of the town should be the only ones that know about the slavery, and they aren't there to sell slaves. They are there to make them work and sell products that they produce. So when you start the quest to save the kids, the entire town and Wasteland would deny any slavery happening from there. There should be no daring Dashwood story of escaping Paradise Falls. It should just be a town with a closed-off area in the back. This way, the town has an actual source of income other than pillaging. That, or the town should not be named Paradise Falls. The legend of Paradise Falls could exist in the Wasteland, but no one would know where it actually is. This is because Paradise Falls rebranded itself into a friendly trading town decades ago. This would not only be an amazing reveal to the player, it would make so much more sense. Here's what the town would look like. Imagine the rear section of town is fortified like such. You are not able to view this section from any angle around the car barricade, and everyone in town just says that's where they keep the livestock safe and the munitions secured. The town wouldn't have skulls and skeletons lying everywhere, but instead be a post-war shopping center. There shouldn't be a maze of cars with only one entrance, but an open trading area with 3 entrances, making it much more open to outsiders. You could place one entrance here between these 2 buildings, another one right over here by the bar, and finally the main one that you use when you first enter the town, minus all of the skeletons, of course. Imagine the guards actually used the rooftops to watch over the town, as well as the slaves that were hidden away in the back. This town could have been the main trading hub in the game, and you wouldn't have even known that they were the primary owners of slaves in the Wasteland. Let me take this one step further. Now, I want you to imagine that there is no enclave and there is no brotherhood. Instead, you have, the commoners and the union, the slavers and the slaves. The commoners could have wide control over the capital Wasteland's trade and economy, spanning across the entire region. They deny all accusations of slavery, dealing in chems, looting, etc. Instead, they keep up their image by helping those in need. You would help them grow towns and expand trade across the entire Wasteland for the first part of the game, till you met the Union at some point. The Union would be a spy-type organization, low in numbers and remaining extremely underground in fear of blowing the cover of any of their operatives. The commoners would be enemies with the Union and consider them terrorists. In actuality, the Union are a bunch of escaped slaves and common folk. The commoners could be shown to be extremely corrupt, especially around the towns outside of their territories. You eventually could have learned that they are known to the areas surrounding the capital Wasteland as slavers and crooks. The Temple of the Union could have been an underground community whose main goal was to free captured slaves and eventually eradicate the commoners. They would know that they are outnumbered 100 to 1 though. That's only the first act of this story that took me about half an hour to think of, and it's much more unique and coherent than what we got in this game. At some point in the third act, you would find out that the commoners have your father, and they knew the entire time. They made you work for them with the promise of seeking him out one day for you. You learned that they were only using you to gain more control, and that they were going to keep your father a slave until you complied. The entire game would need to be restructured, but there is so much potential for this town. Instead, we got a den of slavers who do not hide at all what they do for a living. Every town on the map should want them dead, as well as every single faction, yet they are thriving in the capital Wasteland. Canterbury Commons should be Paradise Falls. Speaking of, this town should not exist. No one in the capital Wasteland talks about the bustling trader town that is in control of every traveling merchant. It has a handful of people who don't have much to say and a very stupid side quest, which we will go over later in this video. This town should have been in the spot Paradise Falls was in on the map, and it should have been an actual hub for trading and settlers. It would make much more sense than, let's say, a battleship that doesn't let anyone inside unless it's for good reasons being the biggest town around. Speaking of, as someone who has done very little urban exploration, I can say with confidence that Rivet City should be completely underwater. The fact that that ship has not completely decayed over the years and still has a fully functional swing bridge is outstanding. The marketplace is filled with traders, but only the settlers ever seem to leave or enter the town. They don't produce any goods for reliable income, and they are located right on the shoreline. You have to avoid an entire army of super mutants just to get to this town. The thought of traders wanting to come here to do business is laughable. They have a museum that no one seems to take seriously, a church which barely has any followers, and a science team that has barely produced any discoveries in decades. The fact that they have a team of scientists, a church, and a museum that they feed and take care of all on the town's dime is baffling. No one would go across the wastelands to visit this town or trade. It is far too secluded. Speaking of... Across the entire map lies the Republic of Dave, which is a joke of a location, but at least they produce their own food, which ironically makes them better than most of the locations in this game. I'm just amazed that the local death claws do not tear them apart. I'm also amazed they aren't a town full of ghouls, since they don't have any doctors or any methods to prevent the dangers of radiation. Speaking of... This town makes anti-sense. The building should be in ruins like the rest of the buildings around it. One of the ghouls says he does his best to keep the place up and running, but he needs scrap metal to do so. So are we to believe that this ghoul, who has a repair skill below 30, mind you, is keeping an entire building standing as well as lit 180 years after the bombs fell? The ghouls should be executed by the nearby Brotherhood, who are known for taking potshots at them. They have no source of income for this town. They don't advertise as a place to trade, or even as a town at all. No one is wandering through the mall looking to trade. It's nothing but a hostile place in the middle of the city. Speaking of... This town felt like they wanted an interesting story of a town besieged by ants, and they failed miserably. There were a couple of townspeople that lived here before the ants moved in. Frankly, the amount of space in this town that does not have housing or inhabitants is amazing. There is a diner, a shack, and 2 houses. On the other side of town is a metro tunnel. Between the houses and the tunnel is nothing but missed opportunity, taking the form of rubble and destroyed buildings. How the settlers were supposed to defend this massive town confuses me. It's a town of 3 that produces no goods or services, and somehow has survived up until this point. This town is a ghost town that should not survive, even while fully inhabited. Speaking of... This is a town that lives on a collapsed overpass ramp, and you have to walk up the overpass before you reach it. This actually makes some sense for defense purposes, as there is only one access point into the town. Unfortunately, it does not make all of this sense, especially for marketing, unless you post a big sign on the overpass with lights and shit. There were 3 families who lived in this town and a mayor. They don't produce any of their own goods. They have no farms, no livestock besides the Brahmin at the base of the overpass, and they have no water source besides the lake below. This town should not be standing. Yet the traveling merchants will go out of their way to trade with this town. They should have put up a fence around the base of the overpass with guards and Brahmin, and then they should have built their houses going up the overpass gradually till you got to the mayor's at the very top. There just isn't enough people or goods in this town for them to survive. Speaking of... This is a town of a couple of cannibalistic families. They wear pre-war clothes and have basic weapons. There just aren't enough people here for it to be considered a threat. If they had 5 to 6 families that would overwhelm even the highest player, that could have been interesting. There is one old man in the town that fears the families and warns you about them, yet he still stays there and never leaves his home. Does this man just like the thought of his neighbors being cannibals or something? Either way, the old man could probably assassinate both of the families in the dead of night, since he has agility of 7. Hell, a couple of nearby ghouls could go into this town and kill everyone easily. Speaking of... This tower actually makes a bit of sense. It's a bunch of rich types in the Wasteland who made some deals and they are now retired. So they found Tenpenny and got a space in his tower. Tenpenny charges them rent to pay off security. The tower does not need to produce a product, for they are supposed to be in charge of other people producing products for them across the Wasteland. The only parts that do not make sense are the amount of security and the ghouls trying to get in. The amount of security is way too over the top. For example, if anyone wants to do business with the Lancasters, you have to go to the intercom and tell them that you're there to do business with them. If you have a meeting with them, that's great. If you're a new investor or someone with a proposition, good luck. You'd better hope the guards are having a good day, otherwise they might just not let you in. Next are the ghouls trying to get in. Why don't the ghouls get killed right on the spot? Hell, why doesn't Tenpenny snipe them as they walk over to the front gate? Why do the ghouls want to be let inside in the first place? They say that they want to do it for trading, but do they really think a bunch of ghoul bigots are going to give them a fair price while trading? It seems foolish if you ask me. Speaking of, the idea for this town was neat till you think about it for more than 1 second. There is a town of children living in a cave and the town is doing absolutely fine, even though there are slavers constantly attacking them from the entrance and super mutants constantly attacking them from the rear. They are constantly being attacked from both angles and they are having fun defending. I don't know if anyone at Bethesda has ever met a child, but this is not how it would play out. Imagine a bunch of children with PTSD because they just saw their friend get captured by a slaver or ripped in half by a super mutant. Imagine the groups that would form in the cave and the infighting. Imagine the immaturity and the lack of any skills or guidance. This cave would not survive and should not be here under the circumstances that the inhabitants are in. It would have been nice to not have them constantly attacked from everything, but instead be hidden from the outside world. It would be nice if the super mutants could not access them because there was a locked door with a terminal that none of the children could access that keeps them from exploring the rest of the cave. It would have been nice to have them excited to see what was behind that door, only to find the horrors that exist. This town had potential, maybe even a vault itself that connected with the super mutant vault. And when people turned 18, they got sent to that vault. I know this makes Big Town non-existent, but imagine a bunch of children in this game who had never and will never see anyone above the age of 18 till the player character finds them. Imagine the interactions you could have had and the questions you could have been made to answer about being an adult. All of it being wasted. The chef in the town says that he can make cave fungus taste a lot better than it looks, so they have food and water at the very least. How on earth are they getting bullets for defense, though? They don't have much to trade. Maybe the traveling merchants just give them ammo because they feel bad that they're a bunch of kids, which is a bit ironic. Big Town has even bigger problems with food and defense. They are attacked even more than Little Lamplight. Once the residents of Little Lamplight are old enough, they are supposed to move to Big Town. Why wouldn't any of them refuse ever? Why wouldn't all of them make the pilgrimage back to Little Lamplight? Why are they even staying there? You'd think that there would be a lot more people from Little Lamplight who decided to live in Girdershade or something. Speaking of, this place has 2 residents, not including the single Brahmin. One of them is named Sira Petrovita and she collects Nuka Cola. The other one is named Robert and he defends the town. This has gotta be the stupidest settlement in the game. How can they pay for food, water, ammo, or Nuka Cola? If one sentry bot rolled through, the settlement would not survive. I recently went back into the game to get a little bit of footage and noticed 2 death claws in view of the town. So naturally, I ran over there and I spawned 4 Roberts, and to my surprise, they took out 1 death claw before all dying. I then spawned 12 Sierra Petrovitas, but I guess they weren't hungry for her, and I can't blame them. The residents who live here are absolutely insane. Speaking of, this town is extremely secluded in the north part of the map. It has a talking tree named Harold, which has rooted itself into an alleyway of rocks. The residents worship the tree while the tree just wants to end its miserable life. They get food and water from the trees around and the caves below. They are so secluded that traveling merchants don't even know that they exist. So I have no idea where they get the ammo for their guns. Maybe they just aren't attacked enough to need that much ammo, and they occasionally send someone out to trade and stockpile. All of that being said, a group of 2 sentries could easily take them out. They have very little armor and don't have the best guns. The fact that they have not been found and enslaved or killed is a miracle. Speaking of, it's a miracle that this place has stayed a thing. They have one Brahmin to feed a bunch of slaves who are in the middle of the waste in a building. They are visible from all angles and even put up string lights with a generator. The only thing keeping them from the outside waste is a gateway with a lock on it. You may think that they are wasting away, struggling to survive, dehydrating, malnourished, but you would be wrong. They are doing phenomenal, even restoring old artifacts from the Lincoln Memorial. They even have Abraham Lincoln's head for some reason. They get traveling traders, the exact same ones from Paradise Falls, yet the slavers have no idea where they are. Those are all of the towns in this game. Now we'll go over some locations that had missed potential but aren't marked as towns or settlements. This is the Outcast's main HQ. It had so many missed opportunities, ranging from taking over the nearby town filled with raiders or planting bugs in the Citadel to spy on Elder Lyons and his plans. All that you do here is bring technology to them in exchange for a reward. They will eventually become a bit more friendly to you, but that is it. This location would have been really cool if it did not have an obelisk at the bottom. If it was just left ambiguous whether it was haunted or Lovecraftian, I don't really care if Lovecraft is in my Fallout as long as it isn't the main story. If there has to be an obelisk, I would have loved to see a friendly cult spawning from it instead of only ghouls, or even have the entire building empty to add to that feeling of being watched, but the caves below have that cult. These satellite stations should have been eventual missions for the Brotherhood or Outcast to clear and then control these locations. It would have been really neat to have a bunch of locations that you could take over for either the Brotherhood or the Outcast and have them become stronger as you do. It would have been outstanding to have an Outcast ending as well as a Brotherhood ending, an Autumn ending, and an Eden ending for the main story, and these locations would have made amazing outposts. Imagine you have to clear out a bunch of Enclave as a side quest for the Brotherhood or the Outcast. This game, its world, and its characters had so much potential that was wasted for what we got. You meet an old lady and she wants you to go to a vault to get a violin for her. She doesn't know whether or not it is still intact, but she insists it must be. You go there and you get the violin. You can also get sheet music to give to her for a special pistol. You can sell the violin to her, Azurcaw in Underworld, or Washington in Rivet City. Those are your only options. It is a simple fetch quest with a decent reward. I would have liked it if the game forced you to make a tough decision while getting the violin, such as access to the clean room will cause the food production of the vault to cease and all records destroyed, as it is unauthorized access to the area. I would have also liked the sound part of the vault to be a larger factor. What if after accessing the clean room the speakers turned on, causing you to see enemies who weren't really there or something? Maybe a temporary decrease to stats because you're so confused and delirious. The potential was there to make this quest really cool, but in the end it's just a fetch quest with Mirelurks that you have to kill. Speaking of, why are there Mirelurks in this vault? Well, why are they even there? It makes absolutely no sense. There isn't even any water. This quest actually isn't that bad. You help Big Town learn to defend itself. My two big questions are, after generations arriving at Big Town, how haven't they learned the basics of defending a town? And how come the slavers and super mutants haven't set up base there yet? They get attacked by super mutants directly after you help them, and depending on how many survive the attack will determine what reward you get. That's it. I wish there was a way to get Megaton or other towns to help them out, and then establish trade routes between them. There could have been so much more. What if you eventually made Big Town an actual settlement that people wanted to visit? There could have been multiple quests to improve the town's amenities and outlooks, maybe even a school for new arrivals from Little Lamplight, or any child left out in the waste. Imagine helping to establish what kind of business the town would be focusing on and setting up shop. Instead, we got what we got. You get this quest in Megaton from Lucy West. She wants you to deliver a letter to Arefu. She would do it herself, but it is too dangerous, so she gives the one letter she wrote to a random stranger in hopes that they will deliver it for her. When you arrive in Arefu, you are almost blown up. They are getting attacked by vampire LARPers, you see, and they need your help to take them out. But first, you have to check up on all of the families. When you get to the West family, you find the two parents dead and the blood sucked from their bodies. So you go to their hideout, and this is where you get different options. Sort of. You can kill everyone in the gang's lair and free Ian West. You can talk to the leader to convince him to let Ian leave, or you can convince Ian to stay with the vamps. That's it. Afterward, you can find a way for them to get their hemoglobin fix, and that's about it for this quest. I wish that there were more vampire cosplayers throughout the Wasteland, and you can send them to the family to join them. I wish that you could eventually make their hideout into a town instead of them staying hidden till the end of time. I actually don't have many problems with this quest. You can either side with the slavers or the slaves. Siding with the slavers, you tell them at the Lincoln Memorial where the slaves are, and they go off and attack them. They say that you can join them or not, they don't really care. After they clear the slaves, you can bring any piece of slave history to the slavers for destruction. The other side of the quest with the slaves is pretty much the same, but instead you take over the Lincoln Memorial. I wish that there was a way to help them fortify the Lincoln Memorial, or the game made you talk to other local towns to help them get supplies there. Still, this quest has a good and an evil option, which is the bare minimum in my book. This quest is actually one of my favorites. It has many options, good, bad, and everything in between. There is no right or wrong option either. It is all up to how the player feels and their morals. Bravo at making a proper quest, Bethesda. This quest is a rooftop rescue mission. You start off by talking to Reilly in Underworld. She informs you that her entire team is trapped on top of a hotel in the middle of the city. This hotel is surrounded by super mutants. She will tell you that her team was mapping the area, and that is the reason that they were in the middle of the city. Yet their HQ is relatively close to where they are trapped. You fight your way through the super mutants till you get to the top. They want to get the elevator working to escape, so you need to find some components. The components can be found in a room leading to the roof that they are on, so it's pretty easy to finish that part. Or you can pass a repair skill check, one of the few skill checks in this game, and fix the elevator. When you exit the elevator on the ground floor, you are greeted by a room full of super mutants. You have to take them out before they take out any of the team members, or else you don't get the full reward for this quest. After that, they leave and fast travel to their bunker, and that is it. They could have had more missions with Reilly afterwards, even if it's just taking out mercenary targets for them. They also could have made them a valuable trader, dealing in high-quality gear and ammo. The outpost is far too secluded for them to get any business ever. It is far too secure for anyone who is looking for their services to find and enter. Their business should have been based out of Rivet City, or somewhere outside of the dense city. I really would have liked more quests with Reilly's Rangers, but we got what we got, which isn't much. This quest is pretty lackluster. You meet someone who is also trying to steal the Declaration of Independence, and you can either work with them, get a cut of the profit, and skip a whole bunch of the super mutants to get right to the documents, or you can kill them for their special 10mm SMG. I think I worked with them once out of all of my playthroughs, and even then, Sydney typically died from all of the robots before we even reach independence. There is one science skill check on a door, but it just allows you to take a hallway to avoid enemies. You can choose to take the document or have a Protectron forge a counterfeit for you. If you kill the robot, you lose karma for some reason. You can pass a speech check to lie to the robot, saying that you are Thomas Jefferson. Even after lying and telling the robot to stand down and disactivate, you do not lose any karma. But if you kill the robot that just tried to have you killed over a document for a country that doesn't exist anymore, according to Bethesda, that's considered evil. But lying to it and telling it to shut down isn't evil. After that, you go to Rivet City and you sell the document to Abraham. You really only get two choices throughout this entire quest. You can either kill Sydney or you can work with her, and you can either make a duplicate of the document or you can steal the real one. There aren't really any real ramifications for either of these options, which is a disappointment. This quest is so stupid. It's basically just a large collection quest. There is no way to fix it. The game would be better without it. For this quest, you're tasked with disarming the bomb in Megaton, or arming it. You can talk to Mr. Burke to arm the bomb, then go to Tenpenny Tower to blow up the town. You get a lot more caps, a player home in Tenpenny Tower, and Megaton becomes an even bigger crater. You can also report Mr. Burke to Lucas Sims, the town sheriff, in which his incompetence and lack of common sense will get him killed by Mr. Burke. You then won't be able to arm the bomb, leaving you with no other option than to disarm it. You have to turn in the quest to Lucas Sims' son after that, and you get a player home in Megaton. I like this quest, but I hate the town Megaton, so most of the time I blow up that town and never return, letting Moira soak up all of that radiation till she hopefully becomes feral. I actually really enjoyed this quest. It does not give you any quest markers, and you have to listen to the dialogue and what people say to make deductions and figure out who the android actually is. Spoiler, it's the chief of security in Rivet City. You have a couple of options to end this quest, but only one of them gives you the unique plasma rifle, so I mostly go with that ending. This has to be one of my least favorite quests to play. There's one hero and one villain, battling it out in the middle of a town. The town doesn't want anything to do with them, but won't do anything to stop them, so you have to put a stop to it. Getting one of them to stop will cause the other one to stop, so you can talk one of them down or you can kill them, it doesn't really matter. This causes the other one to leave. That's it. I think the town it takes place in shouldn't even exist. So I have no way to improve this quest. In the end, it would be better if it wasn't even in the game. This quest was a great idea for new players, executed poorly. Let me explain. So you get this quest from talking to the most annoying NPC in the game, Moira Brown. She is writing a survival guide for the Wasteland, but she needs someone to help her. You can choose to pass a speech check and lie about every topic she asks you to explore, which results in a bad book. Or you can do those things and make a very good book, as well as everything in between. I do not like that you can lie about each and every single chapter in this book to finish the quest. It should not have been a percentage-based speech check for these. Rather, it should have been a skill check corresponding with each of the chapters and their topics. If the player passed these skill checks, it wouldn't make for a worse book overall, but rather save the player some time. Other than that, it's a great quest to get new players to venture out into the Wasteland with a goal in mind. This quest is objectively shallow. You kill ants till you get to the end of a sewer tunnel and you find a scientist who has been mutating the ants to spit fire. There are a couple of options to take, but they all pretty much lead to the same conclusion with some variation. I would skip this quest on most playthroughs. You don't really gain much from it, and the town never goes back to its former glory. I have so many problems with this quest, ranging from the residents being mad at you and wanting you dead, yet no one actually being hostile besides one rogue security guard, to the overseer kicking you out no matter what the outcome. It would have been really cool to have 101 open up and you get to visit and trade till the end of the game, watching the vault get more and more defensible and having it eventually connect to Megaton. There could have been a lot of opportunities for the outcome of this quest. Instead, they all pretty much end with you getting kicked out of the vault. This quest is actually pretty good. You get tasked with taking out 3 people from across the Wasteland. The ghoul who gives you this quest doesn't tell you why they want them dead, other than they're known for being ghoul bigots. He tells you that he needs all of their keys as proof that they are dead. Many people probably don't even know that when you give him all of those keys, he goes to a secret military installation to get a suit of power armor. You can follow him there and take it from him, but he does not tell you where he is going. He just gives you the money and says that he has to leave town for a bit. There aren't many options in this quest, but the fact that they have that little secret at the end gives it some redemption points. As mentioned in previous chapters, these quests have a bunch of problems with them that we've already kind of gone over, so we won't be going over them again. As you level up in this game, the enemies level with you in an attempt to make the game more challenging even at higher levels. The game does not account for players min-maxing and picking up very good weapons early on. At level 10, the threat of death should no longer be an issue for anyone on their second playthrough. You should have good enough gear to be able to encounter any enemy, not including certain ones from DLC. Stem packs and ammo are abundant in the capital Wasteland. You never really run out unless you refuse to go to a trader. The game does not block off too many areas from the player, which is nice because you can skip the entire first half of the main story if you know where to go in the beginning. The game does have essential NPCs, but not nearly as much as Fallout 4, so there are people in the game that you just cannot kill, as they are needed to complete the base game, or Bethesda felt that they should not be excluded from the game by the player's actions. Not the best thing to have people that you cannot kill in a Fallout game. I want there to be consequences for my actions, even if it means I lose someone to trade with. Every time you level up, you get to pick a perk. I wish they had it every 2 levels, so that the perks feel more special when you unlock them. I would also have liked to pick and choose more, and to look forward to perks you'll unlock later. The perks are alright, some of them being obvious choices while others are less desirable. Some of them are lame and just grant an extra 30 hit points, while others are extremely useful depending on your character's build. I wish that there were more options for perks, as well as having them more useful. Animal Friend makes you an ally with most wild creatures in the waste, so it is an obvious choice if you aren't role-playing. About 40% of the perks regenerate or give you more action points for VATs, and if you aren't a VATs user, they are considered worthless. It would be nice if they used action points for other things, like marking up enemies for sniping or acquiring action points to perform a pickpocket. After getting more of my footage for this game, I went back in and just walked around. I thought to myself after I encountered 2 Enclave outposts in a row, why do the Enclave make so many scattered outposts across the Wasteland? Then I noticed one of the Enclave outposts was taken over by raiders, and they were wearing the power armor. How did the raiders get power armor training? How did the 4 raiders take over an outpost with 2 soldiers and Enclave power armor? How come the Enclave from the other outpost didn't come over here to reclaim their fallen brothers and armor yet? All of this was for you to have more enemies to shoot at a high level. None of it was very well thought out. I went back after 3 days of waiting, and they had respawned as well as a couple of hostile sentry bots within earshot. This is not only bad game design, but bad world design. Overall, after all the smoke clears, if I was to rate this game, number 1 being unplayable or insulting to the player's intelligence, and number 10 being a hypothetical perfect game, I would rate this game a lower 4 out of 10. Maybe one day I'll make a detailed video rewriting this game or a video going over all of its DLCs, but not anytime soon. I am done with Fallout 3 for a long time. Thank you all so much for watching. I am trying to make more review content like this, just not as long. So please don't forget to subscribe and like, as that is the best way to show me that you are enjoying this and you want more content. This video is a passion project of mine that I have been working on for a very long time. So I genuinely appreciate you watching, listening, and hearing what I have to say. We also have a Patreon page. If you feel like supporting even more, Patreon subscribers get special perks and secrets to the channel. Link is in the description. We stream on Twitch all the time, so don't forget to follow us over there. I would love to meet each and every single one of you in chat. Keep on being your best and striving for a better tomorrow, folks.